Hey everyone, finished watching the next episode of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, Once a Ranger Part 2. There's an outer space shot that establishes the green room Thrax teleported the villains to is on another planet. Huh. Alright. I thought it was just on Earth somewhere. Adam takes the veteran ranger team to Angel Grove, which looks an awful lot like a random warehouse in New Zealand. There's some nice character moments as Bridge uses his psychic scan ability to detect chillers, and Xander decides to try Plan Xander and talk the chillers out of a fight. It doesn't work, of course, and a fight breaks out. Kira uses her Sonic Scream ability, which including her Dino Thunder and SPD appearances, I think this is only its 4th or 5th use. Xander uses his Morpher to once again summon vines out of the ground to get rid of some chillers. Tori fires a blast of water at attacking chillers. Adam uses old school martial arts to take out the last of them. He then leads the team to a crate. There's a crudely drawn lightning bolt on the side. At the mansion, Sentinel Knight appears to Mac. He tells Mac that he's glad to see him still taking part in the mission. Mac is only sweeping the floor and doesn't feel like he's making much of a difference. Sentinel Knight assures him that even without power, he's still a ranger. Mac questions the Knight about something he overheard Thrax say. Thrax said he knew of something that could defeat him. Sentinel Knight explains to Mac that there's a magic sword, Excelsior, that can defeat him. Elsewhere, Ronnie has won a race. She looks down at the cup she's won. It's empty, symbolizing how she feels about this accomplishment. Dax is back to working as a stuntman and also back to being neglected and disrespected. He needs to contact his union. Will has successfully recovered a stolen painting for a museum, but suddenly thinks back to Operation Overdrive, because the plot needs him to. Taizan wanders around a field. Alright. It's a nicely shot scene. Don't know what it's supposed to mean, or how I'm supposed to feel about it. What does the scene say about what he's feeling or thinking? I have no idea. Rose is teaching a class at a university. Mac comes to see her. He asks her about the sword Excelsior, and she directs him to a book in the library. We immediately jump forward in time to Mac exploring a jungle searching for the sword. No idea how long it's been. Mac finds the sword on a statue that's just standing there in the middle of the forest. What is this statue? Why is it there? Who made it? How can the sword defeat Sentinel Knight? Why was it even made? Whatever, moving on. Thrax pops in and attacks Mac, but Dax jumps in to save him. The others show up, and then, jarringly, we cut back to the mansion. Adam and Mr. Hartford activate Alpha 6. He's got a new voice. No explanation of why Alpha 6 was deactivated and in a crate in Angel Grove or back on Earth, and then we jump back to Thrax and the Overdrive Rangers. This episode is way more schizophrenic than the last one. The last episode took its time. This one keeps jumping around and can't hold on to anything for too long. Thrax tries to take the sword, but can't get near it. Mac info dumps that the sword can only be picked up by the warrior goddess. Who the hell is that? Dulcia? Does she exist in the show's continuity now? Thrax gets fed up with all this nonsense and leaves. Back at the mansion, Adam tells Alpha that he needs his help in restoring the Morphin Grid, and then teleports him inside of it. Thrax unleashes his monster Vulturus. Adam and the veteran Rangers go to deal with it. The Overdrive Rangers are fiddling around with the statue. They're about to give up, but then they all try and take the sword at once. The statue suddenly comes to life. She explains that the unity of their friendship proves their worthiness to take the sword. She hands it over and then turns back into a statue. Alright, that was pretty weird. Wait, wouldn't it have been safer to leave the sword with the statue? Now Thrax can potentially steal it. Before he couldn't touch it because the statue repelled him, but whatever. The veteran Rangers are piloting a Megazord against Vulturus. It's too tough. But then Mac runs in and leaps at Vulturus and slices him in half with Excelsior. Wow. Okay. You know, Tommy's not in this episode, but that's definitely a Tommy move. The Rangers all return to the mansion. Mac gives Sentinel Knight Excelsior, and it transforms him into a new form with a physical body. Sentinel Knight says he didn't know it could do that. The Rangers tell Mr. Hartford they want to reform the team. Just then, Alpha 6 teleports back. Adam introduces him to everyone. Thrax and the villains gather around Vulturus, who's now alive somehow, for some reason. Florius powers him up with one of his gyro thingies. Oh, that's kinda neat to see those come back. Alpha 6 has successfully restored the Morphin Grid, and the Rangers all go out together to face Thrax and his alliance. Sentinel Knight joins the battle, and together they destroy Thrax and Vulturus, and the evil alliance disbands. The Rangers head back to the mansion and say their goodbyes. Adam tells Alpha 6 he'll take him back to his dojo. The first part of this team-up was decent, but with a pretty weak ending. This part is mostly weird. Way weirder than I remembered. So much stuff is just being thrown at the audience without any context. Thrax has a monster, Vulturus. He thinks it's invincible for some reason. I don't know where he got that assertion from. Thrax is such an odd character. He just comes out of nowhere, has a bunch of weird resources and abilities, but then gets taken out in 2 episodes by the Sentinel Knight, who only just got his body back this episode. Personally, I think Thrax should have been one of the main villains of the season. This is supposed to be a 15th anniversary season, right? Why not have a villain with some connection to the legacy of the series? Like, maybe he could be the biggest, baddest bad guy all the others listen to, even if they don't cooperate with each other, similar to Dark Spectre back in space. Thrax is a really cool concept that very little was done with here. Even outside this 2-parter, he doesn't have much of a legacy. He was featured in Hyperforce, he cameoed in a comic, and that's it. He had a lot of potential, and it was completely wasted. Even now, there's opportunities for him, but he gets brushed aside and forgotten. Dino Fury resurrected an old villain. It could have been Thrax, but no, they went with Zed, despite him possibly still existing as a human in this universe, and also his voice actor passing away. Once and Always was an anniversary special that brought back Rita. Maybe Thrax could work with her. No, we're going to give her 2 random old NPR monsters as her henchmen. Cosmic Fury was a big space adventure. Thrax could work there. Now we're having Zed again. The comic book, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return, centers around Rita and Zed's child, Selena. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Is there a legal complication that's keeping Thrax out of everything? Thrax was played by Glenn Levy. He's an accomplished stuntman who has worked on several Power Rangers seasons, as well as Hercules, Xena, and Lord of the Rings. He's also an actor and writer, and still active today. Angel Grove's inclusion is so forced and unnecessary, I wonder why they bothered. It's not like it serves any relevant purpose to the story. Why would Alpha 6 be deactivated in a crate in a warehouse in Angel Grove anyway? Maybe he hitched a ride with Bulk back to Earth after Lost Galaxy. Still though, not sure why he was ever deactivated. I'm not sure why the crew or writer or whoever wanted Alpha 6. Was that the only Alpha available? Why does his voice sound completely different from any other Alpha we've had?
Looks like trouble.
For a complete catastrophe stroke.
It's the Earth!
Why does Adam know Alpha 6 is in a crate anyway? Why did the crate have a crappy lightning bolt drawn on it? I guess I'd wonder the same thing if it was a well-drawn lightning bolt too, so whatever. The Morphin Grid is now a physical place you can go inside of. When it appeared last episode, I assumed it was just a visual representation of it, but this episode confirms it. Visually, it kind of reminds me of those DVD games on the Disney SPD DVDs. The Rangers, all back to their normal live scenes, are confusing. Some, I get the intention. I think the story reason and motivations are stupid, but I understand. Others, like Will and Tyzon, I really don't get at all. I really think there could have been a better way to temporarily keep the Overdrive Rangers out of the action. Maybe instead of wallowing in self-pity last episode and dicking around this one, they could have been out looking for that magic sword. Excelsior! Stan Lee's thing that he says. Was this a roundabout reference to Stan Lee? He was involved in some earlier Sentai productions. He tried to bring the series over in the 70s and 80s. So maybe. The Excelsior sword is definitely one of the strangest elements of this team-up. There's not much team-up aspect to it in retrieving it. It's got enough lore around it that it could have easily been its own episode. Sentinel Knight tells Mac about it. Mac goes to Rose, she directs him to a book. Mac finds the sword. Thrax can't get it because reasons. And then teamwork is what finally gets it. Then there's the whole warrior goddess thing. What the hell is that? Who is she? What connection does she have to Sentinel Knight? This is Dino Thunder levels of just throwing out a bunch of random weirdness and not explaining any of it. Once all the Rangers are together with all their powers, we get the big dumb battle we've been waiting for. It's quite the glorious show of skills for the stunt crew. During the Rangers' big final strike against the bad guys, they all pull out their weapons except for Adam, who just stands there. I don't get it. He has 2 potential weapons he could use. He could use the Power Axe's cannon mode, or he could use his Power Blaster. Now, I have heard that behind the scenes, the Power Blaster prop was lost, and there's like a toy that he has in the holster to like have something in there. But like, I don't know, use that. Or again, the Power Axe, he's been using it this whole time. Use the Power Axe as in the cannon mode. This episode also has the weird music issue last episode had. Everyone gets bits of their theme music, but not Adam. He gets the new weird rock thing. Adam also gets a new morphing sequence for some reason. I guess they wanted something longer than just, it's morphin' time, Mastodon! The new sequence is fine. I think if more old MMPR Rangers returned more often, this would be a nice thing to keep around. There's some nice bits with the Rangers interacting, but nothing too deep. Bridge gets some buttery toast from Spencer. Kira mentions having a CD, stuff like that. It's cute. Xander, Bridge, and Adam really should have talked about how they were all Green Rangers at one point or another. While not perfect, Once a Ranger was a fun ride. At the very least, the old Rangers aren't forced to lose their powers or memories like every other Disney-era team-up, so yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
Vulturus was supposed to be
Patriest.